Charter Local Edition with your host, John MacDonald.
Hello and welcome. We are visiting today with Senator Mary Moe from Senate District 12. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking a little time to visit with us today.
My pleasure.
Tell me a little bit first about the district you represent and the folks that you represent.
Okay. My district runs pretty much from the river to the edge of town in Great Falls on the south side. And that comprises about 10,000 voters of various socioeconomic levels, so it's a very diverse district.
Very eclectic group of folks up there.
Well, they're Great Falls people. I like to say it's the heart of Great Falls.
And what session was 2015 for you?
That was the first time I've been in the legislature.
Okay, and has it been what you expected it would be?
Yes, I'm very interested and excited about the work.
Tell me a little bit, when you talk about work, what guides you in your work at the legislature?
Well, when on our first day we're asked to take an oath, and in that oath we're asked to swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States and Montana's Constitution. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about that ever since, because I had an exchange with a fellow legislator at one time because I was feeling that he was interpreting Montana's Constitution in an incorrect way, and I said to him, what do you think the delegates meant when they put this phrase in there? And he said, I don't know, I wasn't there at the time. And I guess I'm dating myself, but I was. The first vote that I cast as a Montana voter was for our Constitution. And I just find it to be such an inspiring document in that it sets out such a hopeful vision for what those people wanted future generations to enjoy.
You call it inspiring. What about it in particular are you so inspired by in the state constitution?
Well, if you look at the preamble is about 55 words, I think. 21 of it are devoted to what a beautiful land we live in. And that particular connection to the land, I think, is such a strong Montana value that we underestimate it sometimes. And then the rest of the preamble goes on to say that we want to ensure the quality of life and the equality of opportunity for people in Montana. And then it uses the phrase that we want to secure the blessings of liberty. And I like that particular phrase. And it says that we want to do that for future generations. So when I'm looking at bills, I'm really thinking about those things and what do we want our future generations to have and to experience in Montana.
So it sounds like that's really a basis for kind of how you operate or how you work at the legislature. How does it work in when you set your priorities and you're looking at legislation as you talked about? How does your view of the Constitution play into that?
Well, I think there are three areas that have been particularly interesting to me in this first session that I've served, and I'm sure they'll continue to. The first is the environment. And, you know, when you grow up in Montana, as I was saying earlier, the way we feel about our land isn't the way other people in other states feel. I mean, it really informs, it's in us like breath and blood, I think. And I want to make sure that the hunting and fishing and recreational and just the plain beauty of this state that I have enjoyed, my children have enjoyed, is also going to be there for my grandchildren and their grandchildren. So I'm very interested in issues like the Smith River, just a unique portion of Montana, and making sure that it is still pristine and there for future generations. Then the second area is education. My background is in education, so it's probably not surprising, but I have seen from my own family's story, you know, my folks came from Ireland, and they weren't allowed to get an education or to practice their faith, and so I've really seen what education does to improve your quality of life and the equality of opportunity. So I'm very interested in that. And finally, I'm interested in the Montana Constitution's view of what we should be doing with corrections. You know, the word comes from correct, and and the delegates really felt that it was important that the focus of what we do with criminals is to rehabilitate them. And so I am very concerned about things like trying juveniles as adults. We know, for one thing, from brain science that juveniles just don't think like adults. And it's really a terrible misfortune, I think, to have juveniles in an adult prison population. And then we've also got a problem with our prisons in terms of 85% of the intake every year is recidivist intake. So I think we need to really focus on doing better in that area. And I know that sometimes crimes make us so mad that we want to punish. But I think it's also important to recognize that people do change, and it's also a fiscally conservative approach in that if they really have been rehabilitated, and I think as an example, Barry Beach is one of those people, that we should devote the scarce funds that we can spend on corrections to rehabilitating people who haven't been rehabilitated.
Well, on the corrections front, are there some pieces of legislation that you'll be proposing in 2017 to address some of that?
I'm looking into that right now. In the past session, I think we adopted some legislation that was very helpful in that regard, that had to do with the functions of the Board of Parole. And I think that's going to help with people who have felt that they didn't get a fair shake there. But I'm very interested in the issue of trying juveniles as adults. I think that we like to say we're a Christian nation. We're actually a nation full of Christians. But since that is my religion too, I think that forgiveness and understanding that there is hope in all of us to reform and to be better should inform our approach to corrections.
And a final question for you, just sort of an overview of your first session in the legislature. Disappointments or highlights real quick on what you came away with?
I think we just did so well in this legislature. I am really proud of the work that we did. I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't adopt the infrastructure bill that would have been so helpful for the Montana Historical Society and all kinds of communities throughout the state. But I would say that was my one disappointment. To pass Medicaid expansion was so important. I think that was just a great feat, and I feel really happy about it because those are real people that are suffering right now and not getting health care that they need. So for me, that was a big break. You know, and there are the big issues always that you think about when you're in the legislature. But for me, I get tremendous satisfaction out of the fact that it was my idea to come up with a memorial highway for Deputy Sheriff Joe Dunn, who was struck down and killed in the line of duty in Great Falls. And just to know that you've done this little bit of good and that you've paid that little bit of honor for somebody who died really for all of us. There are little things that happen all the time in the legislature that make you feel really good.
Yeah. Well, Senator, I want to thank you for coming by and visiting with us again.
Thanks for having me.
We have been visiting with Senator Mary Moe at the Montana Democratic Convention in Bozeman. Senator, thanks again. I appreciate your time.
Charter Local Edition has been an exclusive presentation of Charter Communications, providing original programming.